Well, welcome back to my world of wellness here in my kitchen, actually, for a chat all about food and ultra processed foods in particular, because they're getting a lot of airtime at the moment, aren't they? Studies are increasingly linking ultra processed foods, otherwise known as UPFs, to harmful effects on our body. That includes things like cancer, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, poor mental health, to name just a few. And right now, we still don't know exactly why these foods have this effect. We do know that UPFs are often low in fibre, low in micronutrients, and Zoe's PREDICT study showed that eating a diet rich in UPFs was associated with an increase in potentially harmful gut microbes. And as we know, the gut has a huge role for our overall health. So what can we do? Well, I've been having a think about this, and this stuff is all around us. It's cheap and it's literally marketed to us all hours of the day and night. And try as I might to avoid it, it's really hard. My kids love a breakfast cereal, and yeah, I'll be honest, put a bowl of crisps out and I can't resist. But while we may not be able to cut out these foods altogether, there really is a lot that we can do to cut back on them. So really simple, obvious things, prepping food at home. If you can, batch and freeze meals. If you've got a bit of extra time, that's really helpful, and particularly in the summer when there's a glut of fresh fruit and veg and things, you can make soups and sauces and all of that kind of thing. And especially, on those days when we're tempted just to bung a ready meal in the microwave, if there's something that we can just grab out of the freezer, then it makes it so much easier. I make my BF a simple lunchbox for most days for work now too, cheese, chicken, veggies, bit of chopped fruit, that kind of thing, so he doesn't have to stop at a petrol station for a sandwich or worse. But just where to begin with all this stuff? Well, these are some of the key swaps that I have made to help reduce bringing ultra processed foods into the house and into the diet. So first up, bread. Yeah, bread. You might think, what's wrong with bread? But shop-bought bread is often an ultra-processed nightmare. As a rule of thumb, if you look on the back of a packet and you don't recognise the ingredients and you couldn't replicate the same thing in your kitchen, you don't have all those chemical-sounding names, sitting in your kitchen cupboards on the shelves, it's probably a UPF. And I'll be honest, this was a fairly simple swap for me. I made the switch to sourdough some time ago. I don't eat loads of it anyway, but sourdough is a really simple swap if you love your bread. It's more easy digested than commercial bread as well. And obviously, in an ideal world, we'd all be baking our own loaves, wouldn't we, at home? But let's get real. So my tip, if you're buying shop-bought, is to look at the label, because genuine sourdough isn't made using additives, baker's yeast, or chemical raising agents. The ingredients on sourdough bread, real sourdough, should be 3 or 4 things only: flour, water, salt, and a starter or culture. Okay, so cereal. Next on my list is breakfast cereal. Yep, I try and swerve this altogether, but the kids do reach for cereals at times. And the reason I don't like mass-produced cereals is because they're generally full of sugar, and they're typically the first thing that we eat in the day. So that means that they spike our blood sugar, and that means that we're generally starving by around lunchtime or perhaps sooner, and we find that we probably crave more sugar later in the day, and our energy levels can feel very up and down because we've dysregulated that glucose first thing with our first few mouthfuls. Plus, ultra-processed cereals, and they are pretty much all ultra-processed, have all sorts of added nasties, including artificial colours, flavours, sweeteners, emulsifiers, you name it. They're also very expensive for what you get. Once you've shaken down the packet, it's not much there, is there really? So how do we get around this one? Well, if you simply can't live without cereal, you can make your own granola. So there's a recipe for this on earlewellbeing.com, which I will link to below. It's actually a really nice one for summer because it contains rose petals. And it's seriously good. You mix it with oats, hazelnuts, pecans, almonds, whatever you like really, and bake it in the oven. It's very easy. You might think it's complex to bake granola, but seriously it isn't. And you can keep it in an airtight container for weeks. If it's cool and it's dark, it'll keep you going definitely throughout the week, although in my experience, particularly that rose petal granola, which has a few cocoa nibs in it, it gets eaten up pretty quickly. I really love it. I tend to use a little bit of Greek yogurt for that extra added protein. That just kind of keeps me feeling fuller for a bit longer. Maybe a splash of kefir, always good to go, a bit of probiotic goodness. Okay, so talking about splashes of things from the fridge, next up, plant-based milk. Okay, so shop-bought plant milks. And I know I've talked a lot about this. You know, plant milks really do get my goat, for want of a better expression, mainly because they're marketed to us as being a healthy alternative to cow's milk. And let's be frank, I think they are the total opposite. They're not even milk, they're plant water, or perhaps a more accurate description would be sugar water. Well, when you look at oat milk, for example, oats break down into starch and then into glucose. So you've got the glucose molecules broken down very, very quickly. So turning oats into milk results in a simple sugar, and drinking that is a recipe for absolutely spiking your blood sugar levels. So yeah, sugar water, not oat milk, in my opinion. And don't forget that certain varieties of oat milk may also contain oils, seed oils, rapeseed, palm oil maybe, sunflower oil, and the other additives, stabilizers, gums, synthetic vitamins that our body can't absorb properly. No thank you. So swaps here, obviously I am an advocate for British farming. I would always go for whole cow's milk, British cows, British dairy. But if you want to make plant-based milks at home, you can do that with just a few ingredients. And we've got a really good recipe section on the Earle Wellbeing website for that, which again I will link to below. But basically, you just need your choice of oat or nuts and some water. Really simple. Much cheaper, much more environmentally sound than little plastic lined containers that you have to bring home from the supermarket. And you soak the nuts or the oats, you blitz in a blender, and then you kind of sieve it through a fine sieve or a muslin. You can add flavourings like turmeric, cinnamon. That goes really well with cashew, by the way. Super simple, and of course you know exactly what's in it, unlike a UPF. Talking about milks, next up is coconut milk, and this might surprise you. I think this is something that we don't really talk enough about. A lot of coconut milk can contain emulsifiers and stabilizers. And have a look at the tin, I've got some at home. Emulsifiers, in animal studies at least, have been shown to cause imbalances in the gut microbiome as well as inflammation. And likewise, we know that excessive consumption of stabilizers can cause digestive issues too, anything from bloating to stomachache to diarrhea. So instead of reaching for coconut milk, although I have to say this is a good one, it's a good organic one, I would actually go for, same make actually, this is a block creamed coconut. This is usually 100% coconut, do check the label, that's it. It's cheaper, it lasts longer than coconut milk, you're getting far more bang for your buck, so it's a good choice. Okay, so crisps, I mentioned at the start of this vlog, and I would be remiss not to try and include a healthier swap. And you know, it's mainly, I think, the crunch that I love. So kale crisps are super easy to do. You just take your kale, you massage it with a bit of olive oil, sprinkling of sea salt, seasoning, whatever, and bake it in the oven for a few minutes until it's crispy, and voila, you have a little crispy snack. Really good if you are feeling a little bit snacky in between meals. And then, of course, things like vegetable crudités. Here's some I made earlier. Really good option, crunchy, you know, you can have carrot sticks, celery, even some like baby vegetables at this time of year, baby courgettes, for example. And you can add in some hummus, high in protein. And of course, that will keep us feeling fuller for far longer than a bag of crisps. Fizzy drinks, how about that? Okay, so fizzy drinks, sodas, whatever you want to call it, I really try not to have it, don't even have it in the house. You know, there are rarely any nutritional benefits to us whatsoever. They've been linked to changes in our microbiome, type 2 diabetes. It's just a sugar rush for the body. It's a definite no from me. But of course, I wouldn't be swerving all the bubbles here, because kombucha, yeah, kombucha is probably my go-to swap for pop. And to be honest, it's really good on those nights when trying to scale back on my alcohol. If you make kombucha at home. We've got a really good recipe on Earlewellbeing.com. It's super easy. Or you can buy it from an authentic brand. This is a lovely brand, actually, Mighty Brew. I'm a really big fan of them. It's a lovely family-owned kombucha brand in Hampshire. They have all sorts of really delicious seasonal flavours. And in fact, if you want to try them, we've got Liz Loves discounts on them. So if you just put Liz Loves, again, I'll pop a link below, you get 10% off. And of course, you can even get the limited edition Earle Wellbeing ones as well. And kombucha is not just delicious to drink, especially when it's flavoured like this, but it's got so many benefits for our gut health, and it's low in sugar, so it's not nearly as harmful for our teeth as a fizzy drink. It's good stuff. Okay, so finally, energy bars, and these are probably one of the more annoying UPFs. I think really because they're often touted as something that's so good for us, maybe even a healthy alternative to a chocolate bar. Brands often call them protein bars, and yes, admittedly, they do provide a hit of protein, but at what cost? Again, they're usually full of a whole raft of weird ingredients. Emulsifiers, sweeteners, bulking agents, things that we would never see in our kitchens. And the amount of protein will vary from bar to bar, so always read the label. But let's keep things simple and say that a protein bar provides, say, 15 grams of protein. Well, we can get 15 grams of protein from a cup of cottage cheese or some Greek yogurt, really good stuff like this, which is also probiotics. You can also get that from couple of boiled eggs, yeah? So I know which I would rather choose. Well, I hope that this quick whiz through has provided a little bit of inspiration, maybe some help in navigating the world of UPFs. And by reducing the amount of those that we eat, we can really genuinely make a huge difference to our overall well-being. So I'd love to know if you have made any swaps. So please let me know. You can drop a comment. The more creative, the better. Always love to hear. Let's share the ideas, keep this conversation going, and I'll catch you here next time. In the meantime, please make sure that you are subscribed to never miss an episode. Simple. There's just a link down here. Otherwise, I shall see you again here next week. Bye for now.